This case takes us to Sanford, one of the cities of the U.S. state of Florida. It is situated in the central part of Florida. Sanford, the historic waterfront gateway city, is located near the mouth of the St. Johns River on the southern edge of Lake Monroe. Thousands of years before the city was founded, Native Americans inhabited the region. Since then, a myriad of diverse people settled down in the Sanford region. The historic district has grown in recent years, drawing a wide range of restaurants and breweries, and providing a charming low-key nightlife to the city. The Army, Air Force, and Naval Training Center in Orlando brought plenty of people to reside in Sanford for comfort. It has a tight-knit community where people help one another, even though it has its share of local crime. Pamela Cahanes' murder was one such crime that Sanford witnessed in 1984. Born on August 24, 1958, in Stillwater, Washington County, Minnesota, Pamela Jane Cahanes was the second youngest of 8 siblings. Her parents, Lewis and Alice Cahanes, ran a dairy farm together to raise their 8 children. Pamela was raised in a close-knit, loving family in Stillwater. Later, she relocated to St. Paul so she could work for a publishing house. By the time she was 25, she wanted to explore more. She applied for the Navy, and fortunately, she got the offer from the Navy to travel the globe. Pamela gladly accepted the offer and decided to report to boot camp in Orlando with her parents' approval. It was because of her background on the family farm. She was confident and well prepared for military duty. In order to travel across the nation to Florida, Pamela Cahanes bid farewell to her 7 brothers and sisters in May 1984. She was excited about the boot camp and was indeed thriving in her training. Finally, she successfully made it through 2 months and graduated from the Naval Training Center of Orlando. Before reporting for her duty to serve the nation, she wanted to return home one more time to spend time with her loving family in Minnesota. But things didn't go as planned. On August 3, 1984, Pamela graduated from her training in the Orlando Naval Training Center after 2 months of hard work and consistency. The next morning, Pamela went to the Fashion Square Mall in Orlando. She bought a few things and spent a good time strolling around the area. She bought something in the late afternoon at a Kmart in Orlando. Between 6 p.m. and 7:30 p.m., she was spotted at the Navy Training Center with an unidentified man and then in Main Street. The two were strolling in the same area. Pamela and the unknown man were later spotted at the Mariners Club, a pub and club on the premise of the Navy Training Center. She was supposedly also seen after 8 p.m. at an ABC liquor store in Sanford. She was quite excited about the new life she was stepping into. However, fate had other plans for her. On the morning of August 5, 1984, a car was passing by the Riverview area near Sanford. It was around 7 a.m., and the driver was enjoying the calmness around when his eyes landed on something unusual. It was a woman, lying unconscious in the front yard of an abandoned house in the same area. The driver stopped his car and took a closer look at the woman. It didn't take him long to understand that what he thought to be an unconscious woman laying on a lawn was actually deceased. He immediately called 911 and reported everything that he had discovered. Seminole County Police rushed to the crime scene. The police confirmed that it was the body of 25-year-old Pamela Cahanes. She was found almost naked except for a pair of white underwear. Nobody knew how she got to be a half-hour north of the Orlando Naval Training Facility. Was she taken to that place, or did she go there willingly? Based on the immediate physical evidence on her body, police reported that she had been beaten and strangled. They were also able to deduce that she was not killed at the location where her body was found. Rather, she was just dumped there from a vehicle with all of her belongings. A generic receipt found at the crime site indicated that a transaction was made by Pamela at a Chinese restaurant around 1 a.m., which confirmed that she was still alive at 1 a.m. on August 5, 1984. Pamela had her whole life in front of her, but there she was, lying dead cold in the front yard of an abandoned house. A young lady who dreamt of serving the nation by fighting for it lost the battle of life to some vicious criminal. Was the criminal someone she already knew, or was it some stranger who resided in the local area? What could be the motive behind this murder? The investigation started immediately after finding her body, and the detectives firmly believed that the suspect was related to the training base. They found bloodstains on her fingernails, and it was reported in the autopsy that she tried fighting back for 8 to 10 minutes, but then the murderer overpowered her and was successful in killing her. In fact, the police also retrieved bodily fluid samples from her underwear, which police believed to be a significant piece of evidence in the case. Other than that, police were able to get a detailed timeline of her movements and places where she had been seen between August 3, 1984, the day of graduation, and August 5, 1984, the day her body was found, in case any clues could lead the investigators to the suspect. It helped investigators with two things. First, it arranged the series of events that took place before her murder in chronological order. And second, it provided them with a suspect who Pamela was hanging out with when she was last seen at Mariners Club on the night of August 4, 1984. Investigators were unable to identify her close friends because the majority of Pamela's classmates had already departed Orlando. Meanwhile, Pamela's family members back in Minnesota could not understand why somebody would want to harm her. Detectives of Seminole County, Florida, put a lot of effort into the case, but no arrests were ever made. Slowly, and unfortunately due to the lack of evidence, the case went cold. However, in the late 1980s, in a demoralizing turn of events, the family received a tip that the suspect might have been captured, but it was revealed that the tip was inaccurate. One of Pamela's older siblings, Eileen Cahanes Bergman, recalled that the incident led her and her family to lose faith in the investigation. Justice seemed like a dream for the Cahanes family at that time. Investigators were as frustrated as the family, if not more. They had similar questions in their minds. How long would it take to capture the perpetrator? If the killer is still roaming around freely, how many more lives, like Pamela's, are at stake? The case was reopened in 1995 when the investigators were confident that they had access to new and better technology. They carried out forensic tests on Pamela's underwear from a new perspective. With the DNA taken from under her fingernails and the bodily fluid that was found on the underwear, forensic experts were able to create a DNA profile of the suspect. Although they did succeed in creating the DNA profile of the suspect, they did not manage to identify him. Without any constructive lead to move on, detectives were standing at the same point they started the investigation. Slowly, the case turned cold again, for almost another 2 decades. The Cahanes family tried to move on, but couldn't, as Pamela's death and not finding the person behind it weighed way more than they thought. It wasn't until 2018 that investigators had the technology that had the potential to provide a more constructive result. Thus, they decided to give this case another shot and try their luck again. Based on the extracted DNA and the suspect profiling performed in the 1990s, they were able to build a family tree after uploading the data of the extracted DNA to a public database and analyzing the matches. This led them to 59-year-old Thomas Lewis Garner, who was a dental hygienist practicing in Jacksonville in 2018. Born on January 16, 1960, Thomas Lewis Garner grew up in Glenwood, Alabama, USA. In his long career, he had the phase of serving the nation when he joined the military and training centers of the naval recruitment facilities. In 1984, he was training at Orlando Naval Training Center. Soon after, he decided to leave the military and practiced as an independent dental hygienist. In February 2019, a surveillance team watching Garner observed him throwing out a bag of garbage at his Jacksonville residence. They retrieved a cigarette butt, a cotton swab, and a piece of used dental floss from the bag. These items were sent for DNA analysis. Soon after, the results were back. DNA from the bodily fluid on Pamela's underwear matched Garner's DNA. The Seminole County Sheriff's Department detective texted the Cahanes family on Sunday, March 10, 2019, to set up a face-to-face meeting in Minnesota, where 5 of the siblings still resided. The family was expecting an informal meeting that would include some case updates, as the detectives had not explained the reasons before the meeting. The siblings gathered at Bergman's home, and 4 days later, on March 14, 2019, Thursday morning, it was the time for the meeting. When the investigators entered the room and announced that she wanted to show them a video, the siblings were sure it was some update on the case of their deceased sister. The footage showed Thomas being taken into custody on March 13, 2019, 1 day before the meeting. Thomas Garner was unknown to the Cahanes family. However, his existence now was a constant reminder to them that he was the one who took away the life of their loving sister Pam. Eileen recalled the moment investigators informed them about the arrest. She remarked that the siblings never really knew that the case would be solved, so once they were informed about the arrest, they were overjoyed and overwhelmed with a sense of relief. It was after the Cahanes family was informed the news of the arrest was made public. Sheriff Dennis M. Lemma of Seminole County remarked that the man probably thought he was getting away with murder. Investigators were now able to retrieve information about his background, which suggested that Thomas was stationed at the Naval Training Facility in Orlando at the same time as Pamela Cahanes. After his arrest, he denied knowing Pamela in person and remarked that he did not understand how he was charged with her murder. Within 2 months of his arrest, Thomas additionally turned up as a potential DNA match in a Honolulu homicide from September 1982. An Atlanta-based employee of Delta Airlines named Kathy Hicks vanished while traveling to Hawaii. Thomas's DNA, according to authorities, matched evidence found at the spot where Kathy Hicks's body was found on a grassy slope along Nauanu Poly Drive close to a ravine. According to reports, Kathy was beaten to death and strangled, just like Pamela. The detectives even found out that he was in Honolulu when Kathy was visiting a softball tournament with her Delta Airlines co-workers and later turned up dead. Thomas Lewis Garner was not charged with killing Kathy Hicks because the case's evidence had not yet been thoroughly examined. He was taken up for his trial at the Seminole County Courthouse in Sanford on May 6, 2021. As the 4-day trial commenced, Pamela's family assembled to seek justice for their beloved Pam. During the trial, Anna Valentini, Assistant State Attorney, said in a statement that for the sake of defending her nation, Pamela Cahanes joined the Navy. Instead, she was forced to defend herself against Thomas Garner for more than 8 minutes before succumbing to his attacks. Thomas maintained his innocence throughout his trial, admitting that he was pretty promiscuous at the time, but denying that he killed her. He also stated that if he had had a casual fling with Pamela, he probably wouldn't remember. Although the motive behind the murder was unknown, and Thomas kept on pleading not guilty to the charges against him, the matching DNA of his bodily fluid found in the underwear of Pamela and the DNA profile of Thomas told a different story. The fact that they were in the same naval training facility in Orlando in the same period was significant enough for the 12-member jury of the Seminole County Courthouse to give away the verdict of this case. The charges against him were proved in favor of the prosecution. After 2 hours of review at the Seminole County Courthouse in Sanford, Thomas Garner of Jacksonville was found guilty by a jury, according to Todd Brown, a spokesperson for the Seminole-Brevard State Attorney Phil Archer. Circuit Judge Marlene Alva gave Thomas Garner a life sentence in prison. 2 hours after the procedure with the jury began on the Pamela Cahanes murder case, Eileen said the moment the decision was read was bittersweet. She knew that her young sister Pamela wouldn't ever return, but they still had to seek justice and let Pamela's soul rest in peace. She acknowledged the loss that was around the joy after the verdict was made against Thomas Garner. There was some relaxation, but there was no sense of closure. "It'll stay up there for a while," Eileen said. "Our parents are no longer with us, so it would have been lovely to be able to share it with them and let them appreciate this moment." However, the siblings acknowledged the happiness that the news brought for the rest of them. Nevertheless, the family had some painful recollections after hearing the judgment. Jerry Cahanes, Pamela's elder brother, stated it brought them right back to that same day when they heard the bad news. In Lake Elmo, near Highway 36, a striking new billboard appeared at Eileen's family's company, Country Sun Farm and Greenhouse, after the arrest. It was erected by Eileen's son, who was only 11 years old when his aunt tragically passed away. The billboard was put up to ensure that the entire community could bear witness to justice. Over the years, the case remained a point of deep interest for neighbors, friends, and Pamela's former classmates from Stillwater High, who have steadfastly maintained their involvement.